Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Alien Protocols, the Advanced Protocols Data Project. And just to remind you guys, Advanced Protocols means that we have a philosophy and a series of protocols that try to take the CE5 more distant protocols and bring them closer. It's a communication method that's also designed to initiate contact and respond to an initiation of contact from an ET. If you've ever had an ET encounter or heard of the many ET encounters where ETs flash a flashlight at the people, some sort of flashing kind of experience, and the people on the ground flash back, and that there's a mimicry going back and forth. You hear that time and time again in UFO cases. There's a whole philosophy behind universal passive communication that is very fundamental. And the United States and other countries have tried to initiate contact with these advanced aerial vehicles and have even detected different frequencies that these craft emit and tried to communicate using those frequencies. There have been several projects to that effect. And what the government has tried to do in the past and other special projects was try to communicate with ETs using prime numbers and universal math and stuff like that. And obviously, they have very intelligent scientists, but they're not very wise, are they? Let's talk about Luis Elizondo and this week's Italy info. He spoke about a lot of interesting things. He made some revelations and revealed some new information and some new pictures. And let's talk a little bit about that and some of that information. He spoke about the history of ufology and spoke about how, in the 80s and 90s, the quality and the fidelity of the information that the United States gathered on UFOs increased dramatically. And of course, that is with things like satellites and the NRO and other organizations launching and utilizing new technologies. And these technologies picked up the UFOs time and time again, and there's tons of evidence for this. NORAD and our satellites have picked up these craft entering our atmosphere, traveling through our atmosphere at incredible speeds, and we've tracked the distances and the time and everything of these craft. And in fact, there have been intercepts where essentially NORAD scrambled their own personal jets. A lot of you didn't know that NORAD has jets, but yes, they do. And they scrambled these jets after these targets, these unknown tracks. And there were intercepts, and there's gun camera footage and other information. An excellent Canadian researcher named Victor Vigiani submitted some Freedom of Information Act requests, very clever ones, and got some information on this. And we've revealed some information and some documents on this channel about the different technology that's captured UFOs entering our atmosphere, the NORAD and the other documents. So in the 80s and 90s, the quality really increased. And of course, before then, the government had many admitted programs and had gathered literally tons of information. Material information. Some of this information is at Los Alamos, and some of it is at Wright-Patterson Air Base underground in their acknowledged Space Command Center down there. In fact, we just released the information that they got a big bunch of funding to renovate and update that whole system down there, and the labs and everything. So in the 2000s, of course, we got into the ultra high quality data, even higher quality video, higher quality tracking, higher quality satellite imagery, and we collected artifacts, a wide variety of artifacts. So the collection of artifacts by the United States, not just in the United States, but around the world. We've talked about the rapid response teams around the world that are kind of pre-positioned and trained to handle material that might have come from UAPs. And now we're at the point where essentially, and Luis Elizondo acknowledged this, there's a frenzy. There is an international frenzy for anti-gravity and for the technology that these craft display. And this technology is revolutionary technology. And Luis Elizondo admitted the psychotronic aspects of these encounters and this phenomena, and said that in talking about the human effects of encounters with these craft, he said that we are due for, quote, a paradigm change in the way we interact with our environment. That's an exact quote from him. And we are. Those of you who follow this channel know the power of consciousness and how it interweaves with reality to the point where consciousness can literally affect reality. He also spoke about the fact that these craft operate in multiple different environments, the vacuum of space, our atmosphere, and underwater, seamlessly and without the ability to be detected. And that they operate at over 200 Gs and over 8,000 miles per hour. They've been tracked. He mentioned something that we know very well on this channel, and we've spoken about numerous times, is that these craft are repeatedly visiting certain locations. In fact, in the Chris Mellon leak, it was listed as one of the advantages the Department of Defense has, in that the Department of Defense has done a lot of studies on this stuff. That was one of the advantages they mentioned. But they also mentioned that they have multiple locations that have repeat incidents. So you can be certain they have set up some technology at those locations to track and garner more information about these craft. And those locations are nuclear sites. We've mentioned that on this channel before, previous episodes, quite a few of those specific sites. It's not just Malmstrom and Minot, North Dakota, and the missile launch facilities along the northern border. It's more than that. And when we say Malmstrom, there's a bunch of launch facilities, like 60 all around Malmstrom. We're talking about those as well, too. So these craft have had repeated incidents there, but also have an ongoing relationship with water and the ocean. And although Luis Elizondo hasn't mentioned it, we've been mentioning it since February on this channel, how the ATIP has incidents from the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic. And these cases all deal with tic tacs and saucers and rendezvous between the two and going underwater. There's a lot of activity around several different locations. It's conceivable that there are bases or some sort of major operations that these AAVs are performing. One of them, those operations, is around 300 miles off the coast, southwest of Baja California, and near Escondida. And that location had numerous different incidents there, as well as a location off of the southeastern Atlantic that's associated with the Go Fast. Excuse me. Associated with the Go Fast case. So there are numerous underwater and aquatic cases with these craft. And I think there's a lot of obvious reasons why. There's also basically tons of information that they've gathered, so much that Luis Elizondo has admitted that it became a security issue. They were worried that there was so much information flowing, so much of this stuff happening, that they couldn't secure it in terms of foreign espionage. So that tells you how much information ATIP got. And as you remember, ATIP got most of their information from the military, so there's tons and tons of Navy encounters. In fact, almost every major naval exercise was observed by these craft. And that will come out at some point. Almost every major naval exercise. They have tons and tons of great footage. He also revealed something very interesting in this speech, that Rendlesham incident is going to have some revolutionary new information come out within the next 4 months. And those of us in the know that one of the pieces of metal that they have is from Rendlesham, and it has been tested and it has shown to have highly unusual manufacturing qualities, layers and purity levels that are not found on Earth, and a construction method that is not completely known. So that information is going to come out. Mark our words on that. So he spoke about a lot of different things, and he spoke about the fact that basically these craft are warping space-time around them. And we know that. We know they're warping it through, and there's several different ways to warp space and to gain anti-gravity and propulsion and power. These Tic Tacs are utilizing the metamaterial way, and at an incredibly low cost level, energy cost level, the uranium is actually built into some of this metamaterial. At an incredibly low cost level, they're able to create these warp drives. So it's very low energy level. Another sloppier way to do it is with counter-rotating toruses of electromagnetic fields, very powerful ones. And we've known for a long time that those rotating electromagnetic fields twist space-time and create a gravimetric distortion, blah, blah, blah. So, but Luis Elizondo came out and said the warping of space-time is something that is being done now by human technology. He talked about how at the LHC, when they collided some things, they'd warped space-time. And so, gang, basically, those are the big pieces of news to come out of the conference. I wanted to once again go over the agencies that we know are investigating this phenomena, because it has a lot of different angles on it. It's not just the power and the propulsion and the anti-gravity, and there's a lot of different angles on it. So, of course, the DoD and the DIA are investigating. The CIA is definitely investigating. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is definitely investigating. If they're not, they're incredibly incompetent. The National Reconnaissance Office certainly is and has run into this phenomena intentionally and unintentionally just in the course of its business, as you can imagine. ONI certainly has been investigating this for quite a while and has worked with ATIP on this. That's the Office of Naval Intelligence. There's also ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, which is supposed to be like the funnel point, the clearinghouse for intelligence. And it's a very large agency. It's not just like a desk and it's the Office of the Director. No, it's a whole agency. AFOSI certainly is investigating us, the experiencers and researchers. 25AF is a new intelligence wing of the Air Force, and they're certainly investigating this. The Department of Energy, we know, is investigating, and in fact, they have been very involved for many years, and over 20 years involved with their highly secret project with the CIA in Peru. And, of course, it's speculated that the NSA would have a lot of interest in this information. So, that's it for that. And I'd also like to leave you guys with just a little thought, a notion. Craft are oftentimes shaped for their needs and their requirements of what they're going to do. Craft aren't just built randomly, just based on some theories of science. They're shaped accordingly to how they should operate. And even Luis Elizondo brought this up, that spaceships are designed for space. Atmospheric craft are designed for the atmosphere. And aquatic marine ships are designed for that specifically, and they all have different shapes. You know, boats don't have wings, and, you know, spaceships don't have propellers, you know, and so forth. And if you look at the AAVs, their shape tells you a little something about the physics that they're operating in. The shape of the craft tells you that they're not utilizing our gravity field. They're not worried about our gravity field or atmospherics because they create their own. Much like a submarine is shaped like the Tic Tacs, you know, with the long pill shape. When you negate the gravity field around you, you become basically like you're in water. And so, of course, you would be shaped like that. So, anyway, lots of thoughts in this video. What do you guys think? What do you guys think these guys are doing, these craft are doing? And what do you think about the powers of psi and psychotronics that the government fears desperately from this phenomena? Do you think the psychotronics that the advanced aerial vehicles are showing is an organic ability, or is it a technological ability? What do you guys think? And who do you think they are? Tom DeLonge's new book came out, and the focus of that book is bugs, the insectoids. Do you think the visitors are the primary race that has built the Greys, which are a secondary created race for space travel? Do you think the primary race back home is an insectoid race or an artificial intelligence? And that all of these creatures that have been seen are second-generation life forms? What do you guys think? Would love to know your thoughts. Much love.